when I'm involved, it usually the stories usually get bigger than the situation really is, but not always. And some of the stories they tell about me are true.
Let's go ahead and go back to 1985.
19 what?
1985.
Is that when I had the?
That's when it happened.
Oh boy.
So, from what I've read in the newspaper,
Well,
you were planning on going to Vichy for the day. What were your plans that day?
well, this having the extravaganza, and we had a Colbert display over there. See, my son did, and my steam engine. You know, we were going from here over there for the afternoon activities, and of course, I flew a tremendous lot back in those days. So they decided to go with me. I'd let anybody go with me. You know, if they're stupid enough to fly with me, that's their business. I don't care. And Noel was up front with me, and Denny Lowell and his wife's in the back. And I'm that with them, and I'm not paying attention. I look down, this thing is so fast. I can go to St. Louis in time you talk about it. I'm halfway up there, and I'm ready to come down. You know, what? You know, I take off from here, and in 25 minutes, I'm landed. There's very few planes that's faster than this, but it takes a tremendous lot of fuel. It's built for 30 cents a gallon of fuel. So anyway, I'm over the airport, and I got to go down. I got to go down about, I don't remember now, 6,000 or 7,000 feet. So the way to come down is you crab it, drop the flaps and landing gear, and crab it. That means you're flying this way, and you turn it, and you push it this way, and it'll really drop out of the sky. Well, that's all right, but I dropped the gear. Now, it takes a while. It's a big cycle for this gear to do everything it does. And this gear comes up, and the step comes up. It's a big operation, very sensitive. And the stupid, instead of waiting until the gear locked down, at the same time I pushed the button, I crabbed it this way. So the wind come up under that flap that you see there at 175 miles an hour, and it bent one of the tubes about that long, and it would lock down like a set of boomers. And this propeller, you see, it don't miss the ground too far. So I knew, oh, I heard that noise. Man, I know I'm in trouble. So I put down over at Vichy, and I could see that this wasn't going to sport, and I pulled up, and Jamie was down, and my son, he said, Dad's in trouble. I said, what makes you say Dad don't go around? He don't go around nobody, he goes in. He said, Dad's in trouble. Well, I was. So I tucked back off again, and I didn't want to, with all the people at the extravaganza that George Carney had, there was hundreds and hundreds of people. So I thought, well, if I'm going to fight the federal government, I'm going to fight them on my own turf. So, and I always do. So I brought it back over here, and I had a repeater, which is a telephone, but this is before the cell phones was ever even thought about. And of course, I radioed home before I ever burned up 130 gallons of fuel, except I allowed 3 landings. I figured I needed at least 3 to keep from blowing up on landing. So I circled and circled, and the fire department comes out, and about half of Salem. I think before I got that 130 gallon of fuel, I think the whole world knew I was in trouble. Even my son did. I come back here and I circled the airport, and I didn't have to call the fire department. They were out here. And I know that I couldn't put it down with 130 gallon of fuel in 4 fuel tanks. On the belly, I'd stand a pretty good chance of having the thing blow up, and I didn't have one blow up under me, and I didn't need another one. So I proceeded to burn off, and it took a while to burn off 130 gallon, and I figured I had 3 landings. I figured I got 3 landings, and I wanted to land into the south. And so I had my fuel, I burned off all my reserve tanks, and I had my main tanks, because they're up more in the air and they're further from the passengers. So if it was going to have a fire, I wanted to be out in the end of the wings instead of up close to the cab, so they had a chance to get out. And I figured I had 3 landings. And so I set it up. And of course, landing that way with the flaps up and the gear up, it's going to glide more. Because see, I've flew it for 30-some years with the gear down and the flap down. There's a whole different characteristic. And I come in with the first landing, and man, I was way too hot or too much speed. I had way too much speed. And at that time, it's 4,000 now. It's only 2,600 foot. See, a lot of pilots would never flew a 310 on 2,600 foot, but I had 2,600 foot, and I had a 310 I had to fly it on, so I did. It took it all to get it in, to get it out. So I didn't have nothing to spare, so now I've done used up 1. I got 2 left, maybe. I was figuring my fuel. And of course, I had 4 people, myself, 3 people in here, and their license was state. So I circled around. Now, to say nervous after the stress I was under, our chief, Kermit Allen, I didn't know until later. He told me how nervous he was. Because everybody's kind of nervous if I was going to be able to get the thing in. And on the second landing, when I was out about, I was to the north about probably a mile, I said, we're going in. So I cut the power, the electrical power and everything off of it. And I had my heart set on this time we're going in. And I floated down the runway, right in the middle of the runway. But just as it stalled, I scooted over on the grass. And it didn't hardly do any damage, but busted a little light underneath. I never did repaint it. It didn't do enough damage. And the people that watched me land at Kermit Allen, one of them said, hey, I never saw a more beautiful landing. Put that down.
Some of the folks I talked with said that it was a miracle.
Oh, no, not really. Not, but to not have it blow up. Yeah, it was a little tiny miracle. But a lot of people could have done it at Vichy. It would have been a walk in the park. See, Vichy's got tremendous runways built during World War II. Anybody could put it in at Vichy. But to put it in on a 2,600-foot strip, that's where separate the boys from the men on flying, you know. And I didn't want to have it over there at Vichy Airport sitting over there because I know what would happen. Here come my #1 friends, and they would be wanting to eat me alive. So I'm going to have it on my turf. A dog will always fight better in his own yard than he will in his neighbor's yard. So I figured I'd fight with the government better here, and I did. They got wind of it. I got it all back together and got it flying again. And here they called. Want to know about the belly landing, and I had a few thousand words to say to them because I had just spent $29,500 an attorney's fee for deposition for the wreck I had over at Vichy Airport on the plane that burned. And I had Jerry Schaefer had one person with me at that time. And they talked to me like I was a dog, and I let these guys know, you come on down, boys. I want 2 of you. One of you's not enough. I'm going to get about $29,000 out of your head. And if it takes me all day and a big 2x4, I'm going to get me. And this time we're going into federal court. You're going to win. But, brother, you're going in with some bumps on you. Mr. Schwartz, Mr. Schwartz, Mr. Schwartz, let me talk. Mr. Schwartz, we won't be down to see you, so that's the end of that.
Frankie, how many plane crashes have you been in?
Just 3, but people talk about it, you think I'd had 100. But they have 3 car wrecks, nobody knows anything about it, see. But
Now, Frankie, looking back on from 30 years later,
boy, it don't seem like 30 years.
what do you think? What do you have to say?
Well, I'll say that I've only been here alive. I should not be here. I got a reprieve. I got a reprieve. You know, they're going to electrocute a man, and then the telephone rang. They're still going to kill him, but they're going to put him back in the box. And so I'm still going to die, but I got a reprieve on my airplane crashes. And I've done nothing to deserve it, but if it hadn't been for the Lord Jesus Christ and his protecting guardian angel, that every Christian has a guardian angel. They're not going to interfere with your will. You can do whatever you want to. But they're there to protect your blind side. And I have a blind side. And that angel protects your blind side. Now, that happened. My guardian angel protected my right eye, which is got it punched out. It's a plastic eye. So there's a story you can put on the internet, and it don't make no difference to me whether you believe it or not. It's totally irrelevant to me. Okay?